The movie opens with Alice and her husband Don cooking in a dimly lit cabin. A virus called Rage has spread recently, and they've fled to the countryside. Luckily, their kids are safe on a school trip abroad. As they're sharing a moment, an elderly woman interrupts them. She and her husband own the cabin, which is barricaded. Dawn and Alice make dinner for the couple. During the meal, the woman expects a spot for her boyfriend, but Jacob informs her that he's been gone for a long time and won't return. All of a sudden, there's a loud banging on the front door. It's a young boy who hasn't been infected. After some debate, Dawn allows him inside and swiftly closes the door. They give the boy food and inquire about where he's from. He explains he's from a nearby town and that his family is chasing him. When the other woman looks outside, she's shocked to see an infected woman breaking through the boarded up windows, spewing blood onto her face. Dawn uses a crowbar to fatally beat the infected woman. Soon after, the other woman becomes infected, and Dawn kills her too. Multiple infected people burst into the cabin as the survivors desperately try to escape. The little boy rushes upstairs, followed by Alice, while Jacob and the elderly couple head to the barn. The old man tries to hold the door shut, but the infected manage to break through, infecting him. The old woman is brutally killed by the infected as Jacob escapes outside and flees. Dawn rushes upstairs and instructs Alice to abandon the boy hiding in the closet. An infected person blocks Alice's path to Dawn. She cries out for his help, but he cowardly shuts the door and leaps out of a window. As Dawn flees, he glimpses Alice being dragged away from the window. He sprints across a field, pursued by numerous infected, with more waiting atop a hill to chase him. Dawn reaches the dock, where Jacob is already untying a boat. They both board, but an infected knocks Jacob into the water. Dawn tries to rescue him, but Jacob is pulled under, leaving blood around the boat. Jacob resurfaces and attempts to attack Dawn, who fights back with the boat's engine. Dawn escapes down the river, but is consumed with regret for leaving Alice behind. The scene then takes us to a timeline, from the initial infection outbreak to Britain's quarantine, the arrival of American troops, the eradication of the infected, the planning for repopulation, and finally, 28 weeks later. Scarlett, an American doctor, observes a lone plane landing at the airport. Among the arrivals are Tammy and her younger brother, Andy. Scarlett is dismayed by the lengthy processing time for civilians and the unexpected arrival of children. After passing health inspections, Scarlett notices Andy's heterochromatic eyes, inherited from his mother, and records him as the youngest person in the country. Once cleared, the civilians are escorted via subway to District 1, the designated safe zone where they'll reside. District 1 has 24-hour power, hot and cold water, a supermarket, and a pub. The district also has heavy American personnel stationed everywhere. Their job is to protect the people. Snipers are placed on all the rooftops, and we're introduced to Doyle, who passes the boredom by joking around with his fellow snipers and his friend Flynn, a helicopter pilot. Civilians are strongly advised against leaving the safety zone, as nearby areas remain uncleared. Tammy and Andy reunite with their father, Don, at the subway station, embracing in joy. General Stone monitors the civilians via citywide cameras. Scarlett voices concerns to Stone about the unpreparedness for children entering the city, fearing a resurgence of infection. Stone assures her that if necessary, they'll implement Code Red, terminating all infected individuals. The civilians temporarily reside in a large apartment building until individual properties are deemed safe. Don, as head janitor, has access everywhere and resides in the penthouse, much to the children's delight. Don informs them that their current living situation is temporary and shares a fabricated version of Alice's fate, claiming that she was killed by infected. Don feels sad when he remembers how he left his wife behind. Later, Flynn startles Doyle while he's listening to music. Flynn scolds him for interrupting his thoughts about his family. But Doyle returns to his lookout and sees different scenes in the apartment complex through his rifle scope. Couples arguing, spending time together, Don playing with his kids, and Scarlett looking distressed. At night, Andy has a scary dream about his mom changing. He worries he'll forget what she looks like. Tammy comforts him, and they decide to go home the next day to get photos and things. The next morning, the kids sneak past soldiers and explore outside the safe zone. They find scooters near a pizza place and decide to go to their house. Inside, they find spoiled food and a dead delivery person. Tammy takes the keys and a helmet. They ride through the empty streets to their house. Andy takes a photo of his mom, and they pack their clothes. Andy thinks he sees Tammy in the attic, but finds his mom, Alice, alive. But she hurts him when she hugs too tightly. Tammy hears his screams, and soldiers arrive. They take Alice away, saying that she's infected. Scarlett does tests and conclude Alice carries the virus. Meanwhile, Don learns his kids went outside and is shocked to hear that Alice is alive. He searches for her. Stone decides that Alice should be killed because she can spread the virus. Scarlett wants to study her more, but Stone disagrees. Don finally gets to Alice and opens the door to where she is. She's still tied up, and he says sorry for leaving her. She says that she still loves him, and they kiss. Some spit gets into Don's mouth, and he starts to get sick very fast. He bleeds from his eyes, throws up blood everywhere, and hits the window. Don, now very sick, turns around and sees Alice tied up. He hits her with his hands and bites her neck. Don then pushes his thumbs into her eyes and breaks her head, killing her. He gets out of the room and goes to kill everyone that he sees. Stone sees the blood and dead people. He makes Code Red happen and has the place closed down. Doyle and Flynn are shocked that the order was made. The doors to the place are locked and the power is turned off, changing to the other power. Stone goes to the control room and tells his people what to do. The person watching Andy and Tammy tells them that everything's okay and goes out of the room to see what's happening. While in the hall, he's attacked by a sick person. The kids are locked in the room, waiting for the person to come back. The sick person comes into the room and hits the glass that is between them. His head is shot off by Scarlett, who lets the kids out and takes them through the place. The crowd won't let anyone leave the building. Scarlett tries to convince them to let the kids go, but Andy gets separated and pushed into the basement with the others. They lock them in for safety from sick people, chaining the door. Andy sits alone in fear in the dark basement. He hears loud noises from another door nearby. With the power off, there's only dim light from people's small lights and fire sticks. Dawn, who's sick, enters and vomits blood, spreading the sickness to everyone. Andy hides in a small hole in the wall, listening to the chaos of people getting sick and killed. Eventually, some manage to escape upstairs, but the sick ones follow. Outside, Stone orders his people to shoot only the sick ones. Doyle and others try to shoot, but it's hard to see who's sick in the chaos. They only realize when someone's attacked, but then it's too late. Stone decides to kill everyone. People with guns start shooting everyone, including those who are sick. Andy emerges from his hiding spot and finds himself amidst the violence. After Doyle can't bear to kill innocent people anymore, he spots Andy and shoots a sick person to protect him, but some blood splatters onto Andy. Scared, Andy runs to a store where others are hiding. Doyle follows him. Inside the dark store, Andy is frightened by everyone he encounters. Fortunately, he reunites with Tammy and Scarlett inside the store. They're shocked to learn about the killings. Doyle reveals himself and explains the danger of Code Red. He promises to lead the survivors to safety. Together, they leave the store and head to the deserted streets. Doyle emphasizes staying together as they navigate through the city. Andy notices Dawn trailing behind them. Flynn talks to Doyle and tells him to leave, because in 4 minutes, they're going to blow up the city. They choose a place to meet, and the people who are alive are shot at by a person with a gun. The person with a gun kills 2 or 3 people, and Scarlett is shot in the leg. Knowing the time they have, Doyle tells a person who's alive to run in a different way, so that he can shoot the person with a gun when he shows where he is. The person who's alive is too scared to do it, and Andy runs out in the open. The person with a gun tries to shoot him, but Doyle shoots the person with a gun in the head. The people who are alive run to a big hole in the ground and get ready. The city is blown up, making the roads full of fire and loud noises. The sick ones are killed, but Don lives through the attack. The loud noises break the cameras around the city. The people who are alive get out of the ground just before it blows up. As he sits down, Stone sees that the only camera that still works is the one outside of the control room, and he sees some sick ones running right for them. In another place, the survivors make it across a bridge and gather at a meeting spot. Scarlett tells Doyle that Alice has something in her body that kept her from getting sick from rage, hinting that the kids might have it too. So, it's super important that they stay alive for a shot at finding a cure. Flynn arrives and is happy to see Doyle alive. While they wait for transportation, Doyle spots some sick people getting closer. Flynn gets upset that Doyle brought others along, and they argue about rescuing more survivors. During the commotion, a man tries to hop onto the flying vehicle. Flynn uses its blades to fend off the approaching sick people, accidentally getting the man covered in blood. The man lets go and falls. Doyle and Flynn choose another place to meet, and Flynn flies away, but not before telling Doyle to leave the people who are alive. Doyle, Scarlett, Andy, and Tammy run away as the sick ones are right behind them. Doyle shoots them with his gun, but there's too many. They run into a road but stop when they see that it's full of gas. Realizing that the soldiers are resorting to chemical weapons now, Doyle gets everybody inside a car. They cover all the vents and cover their mouths, while the infected bang on the car trying to get in. The gas quickly kills the infected around them, and Scarlett tries to start the car. Doyle sees soldiers walking toward them, wearing gas masks and setting the corpses on fire with flamethrowers. Scarlett can't start the car, and Doyle realizes what he has to do. He tells Scarlett that he'll meet them at the rendezvous point, and gives her his sniper rifle. Doyle quickly exits and starts to push the car. The soldiers get closer and closer, but Scarlett finally is able to start the car. Doyle, however, is torched by his fellow soldiers and is burnt alive. Tammy and Andy watch in horror as Doyle dies behind them. A helicopter shoots at the car as Scarlett drives through the streets, which are increasingly being filled with the gas. She winds up driving the car down into another subway station. This time, there are absolutely no lights working there, so Scarlett leads the kids through the station using the night vision on Doyle's sniper rifle. The kids are scared because they can't see anything, but she helps them walk down the escalators and past the corpses around them. Tammy and Andy wind up falling down the escalator, and Scarlett frantically searches for them. She sees a glimpse of someone walking in the background. She finds Tammy, but can't find Andy. While they search for him, Don shows up and beats Scarlett to death with the rifle. Don chases Andy down and bites his neck. Tammy picks up the rifle and shoots Don to death. Tammy breaks down and cries over the loss of her family. But turns out, Andy's still alive. But he runs off down a tunnel. Tammy tells him that they'll always be together and runs after him. After a while, Andy collapses on the tracks. When he gets up, Tammy realizes that he's not infected. Unbeknownst to her, Andy is also immune to rage virus and has become a carrier for the virus. The kids make it to the rendezvous point, where Flynn holds them at gunpoint. After realizing that Doyle's dead, he lets the kids fly with him. Flynn flies them to safety as they pass the burning ruins of District 1. The scene then takes us to France, where we see Flynn's crashed helicopter in a field. The film comes to a close as the infected rush towards the Eiffel Tower, showing that the containment has failed and the virus continues to spread. Wow, that one was intense. And it honestly just goes to show how quickly these shelters fall apart in zombie movies. Everything was running smooth, and then they let in that one person that they rescued that happened to be infected, and the rest of it, well, you know the story. That being said, if you were in a zombie movie, what would be your go-to survival strategy? Let me know in the comment section below. Let's get creative. Alright guys, if you want to see another great movie recap, then make sure you click that video that's on screen now. We love making these videos for you, so if you want to see more zombie, action, or sci-fi movies, then make sure that you're subscribed to our channel to see more of our latest videos. Remember to give this video a thumbs up. Thanks guys, I'll see you in the next movie recap.